Hi guys, it's Andy from Man City Fan TV. Well, welcome to the latest podcast, and what we've got is one of our presenters, which is Kiam over in Canada. He's on today. So how are you, Kiam?
I'm very well, Andy. Thanks for having me on, mate. Really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. And what we've also got is one of our sort of regular contributors to Man City Fan TV, and that is Akio. And Akio, I don't know what he's doing there. Is he rubbing his hands or he's doing something? But he's probably really excited to be on Man City Fan TV podcast. But he's back in Goa after a flying visit to the UK. So, Akio, how are you, mate?
Oh, hi, Andy. I'm doing great. Fabulous. Already missing Manchester down here.
Excellent. Well, what we're going to do is this is going to be a shortened version of the normal 1 hour podcast, but what we're going to do is quickly we're going to review yesterday's 2-1 win versus Southampton. So second time we played them in a week. Akio, you watched the game, and if people don't know, obviously you set up the Go and Supporters Club. Were you watching it all in your usual pub?
No. In fact, yesterday's game was a Saturday game, and there were a couple of other games on at the same time, so it was a bit packed. And usually, a lot of people over here head out to party and get into town, so it was quite a busy day. But all of us were watching the game at home.
Ah, right. Okay. So, what were your thoughts initially on yesterday's performance? Just a very quick overview.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough result. We had to really grind that result out, and I don't think anyone really expected it, especially after they got a drubbing from Leicester last week, and then we played them in the League Cup, and we did pretty well again there. And I think everyone just took them for granted, and I think Pep probably took them for granted too, and we thought everything was in place. But yeah, I mean, they really gave us a run for our money. We had to grind it out completely, and then 2 goals, individual brilliance from Aguero and Walker, and there's not much I can say about the game, really. I'm just really happy to get the 3 points at the end of that.
Well, I think that's how most City fans in the stadium felt. We were relieved. Trust me, Kiam. What were your thoughts overall, just on the game itself?
Well, I think it's pretty clear at the moment, Andy, that City are missing the mojo a little bit. It just feels a little bit flat at the moment, and I thought the game itself was a little bit sluggish, especially in that first half. We huffed and puffed. I thought Southampton, to give them credit, defended really, really well. You know, they had a back 8, if you like. They had the fullbacks tucking in, so we didn't get much space in, you know, round the sides that we usually do. So I just thought it was a real huff and puff type game, but we stuck in there. We carried on fighting, and you know, when the chips are down and you do lose your mojo, and every club has these moments. You know, as long as you keep fighting and you can get through and get the victory, then you know that's all that matters. So yeah, it wasn't the best game, mate, if I'm honest.
Well, I mean, we saw yesterday in the stadium, it was 1-0. Liverpool were getting beat 1-0. Suddenly, towards the end, we were winning. It was 1-1 with Liverpool, and we're thinking, oh, hold on here, 2 points coming back to from the lead that they've got. And then Liverpool, being Liverpool and being a team that obviously wants to win the Premier League, got a last minute winner and things like that. So I think that's what teams have to do. That, you know, we've done it. I said it on the vlog last night. I think you look at United, you look at Arsenal, you look at Chelsea, you look at City, how we've done it. We've won games in the final minutes, so we can't complain about a good team in Liverpool coming back and getting 3 points right at the death. But Akio, what were your thoughts on the first half as to what was going wrong and why we struggled? I know Kiam's just mentioned the fact that they were getting sort of 8 behind the ball, but was there anything you saw in the game that you thought we're struggling in this area?
I mean, nothing in particular. I just go back to my first point and think that we were a bit underprepared for the result, and quite often than not, it does happen that when you face a team, frequently in a very short span of time, you do really take them for granted. So I just think that Southampton, as Kiam said, like credit to them. They changed their plans and they didn't really do much. Of course, they committed a lot of people behind the ball and in the box and defended as much as they could. But yeah, I just think that we were quite underprepared for the game. That's all I would put it down to.
Is that a worry, Kiam, that Akio's suggesting that we might have been a bit underprepared for the game?
Well, to be fair to Pep, you know, the injuries that we've got at the moment, he's sort of putting, what's the saying, round pegs into square holes, or the other way around. You know, he's got Fernandinho at centre back, so we're losing Fernandinho and his speed of transition in front of the back four. So the ball isn't getting wide as quickly as it usually would do, and then, you know, obviously the outcome of that is we're not getting in behind the opposition, and especially when they play so deep defensively. You know, we need to have that speed of transition, and we're just lacking that. And obviously, with Sané being out as well, he's a player that would have come in and would have provided, you know, the pace down that left-hand side. I think we just have to get through this period at the moment. I think it's just a case of, you know, gritting our teeth and just grinding out results until some of the players come available after Christmas.
I think you hit on a good point there with regards to the fact that obviously Fernandinho is playing as a centre-back at the moment, and you rightly said that the speed of transition isn't as it was last season. And I know Rodri's done okay so far, but Gundogan has been somebody I've been heavily critical about in the past, but I've also been very, you know, complimentary about the way he's performed. You know, prior to yesterday, in the last sort of 3 games, I thought he's done really, really well. But I think yesterday was a classic example of where, in that first half, it was very slow. It was very pedestrian. It was, you know, balls were getting played constantly into the box over the top. Like we had an Edin Dzeko there and things like that. What were your thoughts on that, Akio?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I'd like to bring up Kiam's point again. The amount of injuries that we have that's happening in our team and the reshuffling that we got to do is definitely affecting it, because when you look at a team like Liverpool, they've been really lucky on the injury side. They've not had a lot of injuries, so they have the same group of people that are playing week after week, and they kind of have that sort of coherence that our team is lacking, because every other week we have some player injured. There's got to be some reshuffling done, and I think that's definitely affecting it as well. And the point that you brought up about the putting in the long balls in, and I saw that back when I was in Manchester as well, during the Crystal Palace game for a while, and even for the Atlanta game. I got to see that happening live, and it just baffles me sometimes, because we clearly don't have an Edin Dzeko style player up front who can head in or bang in those goals as we'd like to. So sometimes it baffles me. I don't understand why, when we go into panic mode, we just drop in those long balls, and more often than not, they usually never converted. So I don't get why we keep doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I said yesterday, when we're frustrated as a team, or we're frustrated by an opposition team, it seems to be a default tactic that we go to, and I know Sergio had a free header at one point in the game, but it's a default, you know, tactic we go to that just does not work whatsoever. But what I want to do is, I want to pick up on a point you've just made there, which I think is really, really important. And I'm going to come to Kiam. And that is, Akio's just mentioned there the fact of he doesn't seem to understand why we're picking up so many injuries at this moment in time, which we have done. And when other teams, for example, and it could be luck, it could be something else, with Liverpool are not picking up the type of injuries this season that we had. And don't forget, we lost our head physio, Lee Nobes, back in 2018. After 11 years, he went, after working with Sven, Mark Hughes, Roberto Mancini, Pellegrini and Pep Guardiola, he moved over and he accepted the job as their physio in 2018. So do you think, deep down, that has anything to do with it whatsoever? And do you honestly think, Kiam, that there is something a little bit more to these bout of injuries and hamstrings and things like that we're getting, or is it just bad luck?
To be honest, I've always wondered about our training. Obviously, I'm not there. I don't see how the team trains, but sometimes it does feel like we might have some sort of circus sort of tent set up at times, and people are throwing knives at our players, or they're riding bicycles on tight ropes, because for some reason the injuries are just absolutely crazy. It's every week we hear about a new injury. We panic when a player goes down. But in reality, I think it's down to the way Pep plays. I think it's because he demands so much from the players. It's such a high pressing game that he demands. And we can look at Liverpool and say, well, they play a high pressing game as well. So why aren't they getting the injuries? Yeah. I think it is just luck, just rub of the green. I mean, I don't know about the surface at the Etihad. I don't know if anybody's ever questioned that. I know it's some sort of artificial grass combined with real grass. I'm not sure the actual technical makeup of the grass, but what's the difference between there and Anfield, for example? Why are they not picking up injuries when they're playing such a pressing game, but we are? So it's a hard one to put your finger on it. I just think we're really unlucky, and I also wonder whether it's, and I don't want to be harsh, but sometimes I think is it a little bit of a lack of desire in certain individuals? The minor knocks. I don't know whether some of them could actually just grit the teeth and get through it a little bit. I used to think that about Company at times, and I'm being a little bit harsh on Company. He's a legend of the club.
You're treading on hot coals here, mate.
I'm like, I don't know. Some of them I think need a kick up the backside sometimes, and they just need to get on the pitch and grit the teeth. But other times, and obviously more serious injuries like KDB, Sané, I understand. We can't do anything about that.
Well, okay, so maybe it's a bit of conspiracy theory or something like that. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but it just seems it's ironic this season. We've lost our head physio. He's gone to Liverpool. This season, we just seem to be getting injury after injury after injury, and some of them are serious, some of them are minor, but it still means like a 10-day, 2-week, 3 weeks sometimes in Rodri's case, players being out. So looking back at yesterday, the lineup was obviously Ederson. Walker came in instead of Cancelo. Fernandinho and Stones were the centre-backs. Angelino came in for Mendy. We had Gundogan holding a game with Kevin De Bruyne and David Silva, who now has picked up a slight injury. Bernardo Silva played out wide, Aguero up front, and Raheem Sterling. Akio, out of those players, does anybody spring to mind as having a really, really good game? Or, was anybody better than others?
I don't think anyone would really spring to mind for me, but they all started off on a very wrong foot in the first half. Everybody struggled, and I think everyone tried their best in the second half. I'd really commend the effort of all the players in the last 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, not just the players, but the fans as well, because everyone really, really turned up for those last 15 minutes. And I even got onto Twitter for those final 15 minutes and saw, even after the match, there were a lot of tweets really respecting the atmosphere, and people were really happy to see that kind of buzz in the Etihad again. And I saw a lot of people saying that they wish all the future games could be like that as well. So, yeah,
we're going to come back to the atmosphere, because obviously you came over to the UK for a couple of weeks and went and played or went to 3 games. So we're going to come back to that shortly. But I'm just going to give you a minute on each. Obviously, Kiam, you're an old school City fan from Main Road days. You had a season ticket at the Etihad before you
allegedly.
Before you left for Canada. And Akio, you're obviously, you run the Go and Supporters Club, and you've been over recently for your first visit to Manchester and went to away games, things like that. I'm going to give you one minute each, just 1 minute. Kiam, I'm going to come to you first. And I just discussed this on the live log I've just done on the player ratings, and we were talking about the atmosphere. And do you think, and this is just my opinion, I think the way that City has become so successful, that we're so used to cruising through games, seeing wonderful, wonderful football, that when our backs are against the wall, suddenly the fans go back to how we used to be. What are your thoughts on it? You've got 1 minute.
Well, my thoughts are, I mean, I've been to numerous grounds in England. I've been to pretty much all of the Premier League grounds, lower league grounds as well. And I think this atmosphere thing is just a myth. I think it's a stick to beat City with, and it's used by the red media just to beat us up. I actually think the Etihad Stadium is no better or no worse than any other stadium in the country. I think, obviously, when you have the scenario like yesterday, where we're a goal down and we turn it around and we fight back, then the atmosphere is going to improve. It's the same as, you know, a big European game against one of the, you know, Bayern Munich or one of those teams. It's going to be a better atmosphere. So I think it's all a myth. I think the atmosphere is fine at the Etihad. Yes, it's not main road, but I do think it gets a bit of a hard time.
Okay, well, I'll disagree with your wordage that you used there, which was, I think it's fine. I personally don't think it's fine. I think it goes through bits and pieces. But I mean, Akio, you came over. Yeah. You've been to the Etihad. You went twice, and you went also to the away game while you were over. Did you see a difference at the Etihad in the atmosphere compared to was it Palace you went to?
Yeah, for the Palace away game.
For the Palace game. What did you see a difference? And if you did, and I know what it's like going on the road with City, it's always better anyway. There's no doubt about it. But did you see a massive difference? And could you put your finger on whether you felt it was stadium-led or whether you think it's just one of those things?
I mean, yeah, definitely. To my luck, I started my trip with the Palace game. So I arrived just a day before the Palace game, and that was my first ever City game in England. And I traveled all the way by coach with the official supporters club coach, and it was good. It was great. It was really great. I loved. I mean, I've seen a lot of mixed opinions about Crystal Palace's stadium and the away day as a whole. But we had pretty decent seats, and I really enjoyed the experience of traveling all the way. And it was electric, to say the least. It was quite surreal to just be there, because usually you just hear all these things on TV, but being there is a total other experience. And it's amazing. I mean, it's just an amazing feeling to have all these fans packed up into one corner, all huddled up in the cold and singing and screaming your voices out. So that was a great experience. We were actually really, really loud. I got in some videos on my mobile and stuff. And I happened to watch the game on, what do you call it? MOTD, Match of the Day, the next day. Yeah. And I was looking out to see how loud it would appear on TV, how loud us City fans would appear. But to my surprise, we could barely hear. Yeah, we could barely hear the City fans, and we could hear that one Crystal Palace section where they've got the drums and they've got the people bouncing up and down. But that's just about 20% of the stadium. So, but you could hear that very, very clearly on TV, and you could hear City voices in the background, like a very dimnist thing.
Actually, so another conspiracy, mate, but I think that could be the strategic placing of the microphones.
Of the microphones, yeah, exactly. I was getting at that.
The word there was strategic.
Strategic, yeah. Because when I saw it on TV, I just couldn't understand why. I mean, you could hear the City fans singing, but it was really, really low. Whereas you could hear the drumming and the bouncing of the Crystal Palace fans very, very clearly. So at that moment, that was when my dad pointed out that there's probably the mic kept right there. So that made a huge difference. And
they probably had most of the microphones in front of the Kop at Anfield. So they didn't have any.
Definitely.
Didn't have enough. Well, anyway, I mean, it's just one of those. It's something we'll probably discuss further, because certainly yesterday for me in the South Stand, the atmosphere from certainly compared to, let's forget the Carabao Cup game, but if we go back to the Villa game, the atmosphere was definitely a massive improvement yesterday. But it really, really did come when we went 1-0 behind, and I've got my own theories on that, and that's a podcast and a video for a later date. So yesterday the goals. Obviously, we conceded the first goal which, yeah, I mean, some people are sort of saying it was an Edison mistake, and it was after 13 minutes. Ward-Prowse nipped in after a shot. The shot, I watched it back last night on Match of the Day. It didn't look anything that he shouldn't really have dealt with, but it is what it is. We can't be too harsh. But Kiam, what were your thoughts on their first goal?
Well, to be honest, my first thoughts were, is he offside? Because when Nathan Redmond made the run down the right-hand side, it looked like one of those, those VAR where his fingertips or his arm. I've watched it back this morning on my app, and it doesn't look like he was offside. But I didn't see any sort of VAR review, I don't know. You were in the stadium, Andy. Whether VAR came up on the screen?
No, nothing I saw. I mean, from where I was in the top of the South Stand, it's hard to judge whether he was offside or not because it's at the opposite end of the stadium. But
we didn't get any replay or anything on the TV.
No, as far as I know, I might be wrong. Nothing came up in the stadium. As far as I know, I honestly.
Yeah, apart from that, Andy, the actual goal itself was, it was just a blooper, wasn't it? Edison drops the ball in front of Ward-Prowse, and fair play to Ward-Prowse because I used to be a striker myself when I had my boots when I was younger, and you follow up on the keeper for just if it spills out like that, you've got to be there. So you can't get on Edison's back. The guy saved us in so many games. He's been absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So it was just one of those things.
Yeah, well, slippy surface. The weather was absolutely appalling yesterday. We know about that, and if you watch the videos, but you can see I was like a drowned rat yesterday. But moving on, it was a long time before we went in at half time, 1-0 down. It was a long time, but second half I think we really picked up, and Pep had clearly got right into them and was not having that type of performance in the second half. I think probably David Silva going off with a slight injury, and Gabby coming on gave us a bit more energy. But what were your thoughts on the second goal then? The first goal for City, but the second goal in the game, Akio, which was Sergio Aguero's finish from Walker's cross.
Oh, yeah, great goal. That's a typical Sergio Aguero finish, clinical as you like it. And again, going back to Twitter, I can't really remember well, but if I'm not mistaken, I saw a tweet saying that Sergio Aguero has scored 9 goals from just 10 shots on target this entire season. So that speaks volumes about how much of a lethal striker he is. And in moments like this, when you got to really grind it out and push through to get a result, this is all you need. You need a lethal striker. You need someone who's going to score at least 3 or 4 goals in 5 attempts, because it's plain and simple. A lethal and a clinical finisher wins you games. So that was exactly what we needed, and it came from the perfect person.
It's interesting you said that. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on. That was 9 goals in 10 shots, and it was interesting yesterday. That was actually came from our first shot on target. That was our. Yeah. Can you believe it? 70 minutes into the game, and that was City's first shot on target against against Southampton.
That's quite a worrying thing, though. To be honest, Andy,
it is.
I think we have been figured out a little bit, and that sounds dramatic, but I think with our injured players at the moment, I think we're quite easy to play against. You just set up those 2 banks of 4, track our wingers. Have 2 on the wingers, and we're having to revert to crossing the ball in from ridiculous angles. So it's a little bit concerning, especially going to Anfield.
Yeah,
it is. It's going to be a big game next week. But Kiam, on to the second goal. Obviously, Angelino was in for Mendy yesterday, and he pulled back I don't know whether it was meant for Walker, but he put in a cross, and the keeper sort of got a fingertips to it. It went to, of all people, Kyle Walker at the back post, who finished it off. What were your thoughts on the goal?
I thought it was a great finish by Walker, to be fair. He anticipated the cross. He came in at the back post. That's what he should be doing. That's his job. I'm not the biggest fan of Walker, and I am critical. I call him the scarecrow sometimes because I think he doesn't have a football brain. But he did well there, really well to get on the end of that. Angelino is an old school left back. He does what it says on the tin. I know he's not Roberto Carlos, but he's steady, and I think he had a good game for me. I've seen a few fans criticising his performance, saying he wasn't quite on it. He was giving the ball away. But I like him. I think he adds that little bit of pace, that dimension down the left. I just think he needs a little bit of time, but it was a great goal, great build up, and a great finish by Walker.
Okay, so Kiam, I'm going to come back to you. Starting against Liverpool, then Mendy or Angelino?
If Mendy is fit, and I mean, I don't know what that means with Mendy when you say if Mendy is fit. If Mendy is fit, and I mean properly match fit, and obviously only Pep and the medical team will know that, Mendy should start. One, because he's got that extra experience in the bigger games. Obviously, we're playing for Monaco. And then he gives us that physicality, because I think we need the physicality as well. But I wouldn't be disappointed if Angelino steps in, because I think Angelino is only just a couple of, maybe a level down from Mendy. So I'd be happy with either one. If I'm honest, I'd be even happier with a different left back, with Ben Chilwell, but he's not part of our squad. So yeah, I'm not too disappointed if either of those start, to be honest.
Okay, well, the next question I'm going to throw out there to both of you very quickly, and you've got like 30 seconds on this, is Kiam's just mentioned left backs there. So far as it stands, we've got Zinchenko, who's out injured, just had an operation by, I think Dr. Kugat's done a little bit of surgery on his knee or whatever. We've got Benjamin Mendy that we paid a lot of money for, and we know on his day is phenomenal, but he's got an injury issue. We've got Angelino, who's a young kid we brought back. Some saying, yeah, he's not really a City player, blah, 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 blah. And then Kiam's just thrown in Ben Chilwell, who, as we know, at the moment is pulling up trees for Leicester. Well, that would mean, and we've also got Cancelo, who could play left back. So if it came to January, Akio, would you stick with the three, with Cancelo possibly playing at left back? Or would you go in and sign another left back? And if so, who goes?
Well, personally for me, I think a lot of fans wouldn't mind another left back and someone going out. But for the moment, in accordance to your question about the January transfer window and stuff, I don't think that we need another one coming in. I think we do pretty fine with these. It's definitely not our strongest flank, the left side, the left back. But I think we can do pretty well. Each one of the players that we have their own qualities. They are good qualities. They all have something. They all have that something missing as well. But I think with time, they're just going to get better. I mean, they are under Pep Guardiola, of course. So he's definitely going to make things better. If you ask me about next season, then that would probably be for another debate. But I think for the moment we are pretty good. I don't think I would get any one of them out and get someone in, especially because a new player would also have to adapt to the system, and it's another change again. And I think we have far too many complications at the moment. So
I agree with that.
Okay. That's your 30 seconds. I said I'm going to be quick on 30 seconds. Kiam, 30 seconds left back. We've got three, possibly four. Would you make a change in January? Yes or no? And who would go? Because all four can't play there.
Honestly, in January, I agree with Akio. I think there's no point in sort of upsetting the team or the squad in mid-season. I would probably wait until the summer. I would move Mendy on because his injuries are just too much of a concern. Zinchenko, I'd probably let him go and spend some time with his beautiful girlfriend, wife. And I'd keep Angelino and hopefully, Ben Chilwell if we can get hold of him. That would be what I would do, but I'd definitely do it in the summer. I wouldn't make any changes in January. There's no point.
Okay, just a very difficult question for you at the moment, Kiam. Do you think you can move me on from Man City Fan TV so I can spend a bit more time with Zinchenko's girlfriend?
Yeah, we can arrange that, mate. No problem at all. Just leave it with me.
Well, listen, Just to round up yesterday's, just giving you some stats yesterday. 76% possession for City yesterday. And this is the worrying thing. 26 shots for City, 3 shots for Southampton. 4 shots on target. That's 26 shots and 4 of them on target. We had 17 corners yesterday compared to Southampton's 0. Now, when you look at that, you go 26 shots, 4 of them on target from the strike force that was Bernardo, Sergio, Raheem. Behind them, you've got David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, and we had 17 corners, and we created pretty much. I think the John Stones header that went over the bar that he should have done better with, the Aguero. I mean, is that a concern, the corners, for you, Akio?
Yeah, definitely. It's not the first time that I've stressed on this issue. I've done it plenty of times as well on Twitter. I just really think that a world-class team, and especially a team like City that's gunning for the Champions League, definitely needs to make more use of their set pieces, especially the corners, because if you look at the teams like Real Madrid and all these other world-class teams that have been winning the Champions League continuously, you'll notice that they could even have an absolutely rubbish game, but they'd have one corner where your Sergio Ramos would be up in the air and convert, and that's that. The rest is history. Yeah, you would have noticed it in the final versus Atletico Madrid, and plenty of examples. I mean, we need to have that kind of option with us, wherein a game like Southampton itself, for example, where we are struggling, but we need to have some sort of sure way that we can convert from the corners and the free kicks and all of that. If we have that, then I don't think getting that the Holy Champions League would be that difficult.
Kiam, just finally, just any thoughts on that? I mean, because it's something that we have targeted against City as a team for the God knows how many years. Our set pieces and corners are pretty poor.
There's a couple of things that have wound me up about City for many years now, and it's one of them is the set pieces. I think, like Akio mentioned, the big clubs around Europe, they can keep a game tight and win a game on a set piece. They're so important. They're so vital in those big moments. The other thing as well is I think we are too honest as a team. I think we need to learn to play the referees, and everyone will be holding their hands up going, oh, no, we want to win it the right way. Well, I'm sorry, but if you try and win it the right way, you're going to come unstuck, because all these clubs around Europe are diving. They're hitting the deck at the slightest touch. You've seen Mane doing it for Liverpool, going down, slightest touch. And when it comes to the big games in Europe, if we don't wise up, we're not going to get anywhere.
Which is a good point, which leads me to my last point. I know I said that was my last point, but one thing I do want to bring up yesterday was, and the fans were getting very, very frustrated, was McCarthy was taking 30, 40, 50 seconds over every single goal kick, set piece, offside, whatever. Nothing happened to him for the whole game. If I still think, I'm still not sure whether he got booked or not, but Ederson did it twice and got a yellow card. Akio, what were your thoughts on that?
I don't even think I have any thoughts on that. It's just really frustrating. You see it on TV. I came down live to 3 games. I saw it live as well. Even in the Champions League games, a lot of people think that we are bitter and we just keep complaining and whining. But if you had to be in our position and watch what we watch week in and week out, you'd really think that the referees have some sort of agenda against us. It's just so frustrating every week. It's not just with the Champions League, but it's also with the Premier League. And what I feel is, when these other teams are playing around and wasting time and diving and doing all these other kinds of things, you need to get in there and you need to book them. You need to punish them for whatever kind of hindrance they're causing in play. Because if you don't do that, then it's just going to persist again and again and again. And if you don't stop it from the root and take the action right there, it's just going to keep repeating. So that's exactly what's happening. It happened at Aston Villa. The keeper was wasting tons of time taking the goal kicks. And now it's happened this week again. So if he had to be punished the previous game, I'm not saying it's a sure shot way. But if he had to be punished the previous game early on in the game, maybe that could have been avoided this game. But I guess the players can see that the referees aren't really taking a strong action, and yeah, they're just having fun.
Yeah, but the thing is that they took strong action against Edison, and he only did it twice in the whole game. I saw a tweet this morning, and it was from Maria Lester, a big City fan on Twitter, and she, Maz Lester, and she said that I think it was 15 times she'd added up that they took 30 seconds or more, which equates to 6 minutes of the game taken up by their goalkeeper wasting time. Now, obviously, the 30 seconds is not. You're allowed, a little bit more than that. But even if you take 2/3 of that away, I mean, it's still 2-3 minutes of a game that's wasted by. The refs need to get on top of this and say, right, you normally only. I think if it's still the rule, you're only allowed six seconds with the ball in your hand, but they. Throw the ball at one side, then they move it to the other, then they look up, and then they shout to a player, and then they put the ball and move it around, and then they go. Suddenly it's 20 seconds, 30 seconds before they're even kicking a ball. What were your thoughts on that, Kiam, yesterday? Because it was one thing that really annoyed, certainly for the referee. He got a bit of stick from the City fans. What were your thoughts on that one, quickly?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on the referees and the conspiracy theories, if you like, against Manchester City. I think there is something going on behind the scenes. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's related to gambling and things like that, allegedly.
That's a video for another time.
I don't know if it is that, but yesterday, I don't think it was any of that. I think Lee Mason is just purely incompetent. I think he's a very poor referee, and he struggled yesterday.
Yeah, I agree. But, right, okay, moving on finally then. We've wrapped up yesterday's game. Akio, you obviously came over to Manchester for the first time. Obviously, you set up the Goan Supporters Club. You've got a big following out there, which is amazing. But you managed to travel over to Manchester with your father. I met you both at the game. Your dad's a wonderful, wonderful man, a lovely man. Just give me what was the experience like coming to? Let's take it in 3 sections. Let's take it. 1, what were your thoughts firstly on Manchester? Secondly, what were your thoughts on actually going round and being at the Etihad, which is somewhere you've always said you wanted to be? And what were your thoughts on City fans and people that you met? So we'll start with the first one. Manchester. You obviously came to Manchester and had a few days here.
The bulk of my trip. I was down for 10 days in the UK, and I probably had a week in Manchester and about 2 to 3 days in London. So I got a lot of stick for that as well in the beginning. A lot of people, especially the tourists who travel down.
Give me your stick. Give me your stick.
Yeah, I mean, the regular tourists. I mean, when you think UK, it's usually, from a global point of view, when you think the UK, it's always London. It's always London. So people will be like, oh, you're going to Manchester for 7 days. How come? How many days are you going to London for? And blah, blah, blah. But I just stuck with my instincts. And I really enjoyed Manchester. The day we arrived, it was freezing cold and there was a bit of rain as well. So I got a proper welcome. And from that day onwards, it was really good. From that day onwards, we didn't see the rain for about 4 to 5 days. We got bits of sun, and the weather was really, I mean, I could deal with the weather. So that was really nice. I really love the city. I love the blend of the old and traditional architecture as well as the modern buildings and sculptures and everything all around. And I mean, I could go on and on, but I absolutely love the city. It's a place I could see myself settle as well in the near future, hopefully. So
well, it's I know it's something we've been talking about. You've been mentioning, you've been mentioning it on Twitter and things about hopefully coming over here maybe for a year or so and working, and it'd be brilliant to have you over here. But I know that you did the Etihad Stadium. Basically the tour the day before you were leaving after I spoke to you. So what were your thoughts on actually being at the Etihad Stadium, and what were your thoughts on you've seen it so many times. But what was your thoughts about actually being there, the setup, the stadium itself?
Yeah, it was really good. It was an unbelievable experience for me. I mean, you think that watching, I mean, I'm 23 now. I've been watching City for nearly half my life. So you think that watching the team and watching a stadium for a decade on TV would, make things kind of predictable, but not at all. It was totally a surreal experience. And it was really good. I mean, I was lucky because I got to do 3 different games at 3 different times in 3 different conditions. So it was an away game that was a 5:30 p.m. kickoff, I think. Then there was the Champions League game, which was the late 8 p.m. kickoff.
That was the Atalanta. Was it the Atalanta game?
Yeah, the Atalanta game at 8 p.m. and the Aston Villa game at 12 noon. So I got 3 different times, and I got 3 different stands as well. So I was obviously for the Palace game, I was in the away stand. For the Atalanta game, I was in the south stand because I did a lot of research about where to sit, asked a lot of people, and everybody recommended the south stand because that's where it's buzzing. There's the atmosphere.
Yes, it is, Akio. Yes, it is.
Yeah, you can sit closer to the away fans as well if you want to have a bit of banter and joke around with them. And it was a really good experience. I mean, I didn't have much. I knew the atmosphere would be great in the south stand, but I thought the view would not be the best. And I was honestly surprised because the view from where we were, that was on the level 1 of the south stand, was brilliant. I mean, you could see the entire pitch, you could see the other side, you could see the goal, and it was really good. So that surprised me. And for the Aston Villa game, I was in the Colin Bell stand on level 2. So that would definitely be one of the good seats in the stadium with a great view on a great level. So that was great as well. Again, a completely different change where in the south stand, you're standing up and you're singing and there's atmosphere. Whereas in the Colin Bell, everyone's sitting down and there's not a lot of singing going on. But the view was great. I mean, we got a perfect view of the entire pitch, of the dugout, of Pep and everything. So, yeah, very, very impressed with the Etihad Stadium. I got to see the game from different points of view. I got different timings. I got a totally great day with no rain at all. And then on the Aston Villa day, I got like super heavy showers and cold weather. So yeah, brilliant. I've experienced it.
Good job you weren't here yesterday. Kiam, have you got any questions for Akio before we go?
Yeah, I have actually. I mean, I echo what you're saying there about the south stand because my season ticket was in the south stand lower in block 118 and I was about halfway up and I used to love the view.
Oh, we were in the same block, 118.
Yeah, 118. You probably sat in my seat. Hopefully you kept it nice. My question to you, Akio, would be, I'm an old school City fan. So back in the main road days, I used to have lots and lots of banter with Man United fans. I would call them a tourist club and why have you got all these tag-along fans who fly from abroad? And I gave them lots and lots of stick for it. I did. I'll hold my hands up. Nowadays, because we've become successful, I'm revising my thoughts on that. I'm now thinking, well, we need fans from all over the world. So my question is, how do you feel as a foreign fan of Manchester City? Do you feel accepted by the local fan base?
Yeah, I do. I mean, like I said, it's been. I was in Abu Dhabi. I was born there and I was living there. So I was there when the takeover happened, and that's when I became a fan. I wasn't supporting any club. And since then, it's been over a decade now. And I felt nothing more than welcomed by the City fans. The fans were going out of their way to help me, even when I was in Manchester, even before I came to Manchester, giving me suggestions. I haven't really had any problems of any sort with anyone. I mean, there's always the few bunch of 2 to 3 people. I mean, every fan club and every place in England has a bunch of idiots like that. So the people like that have their narrow mindsets, and there's nothing you can do about that. It's best you just ignore that. But besides that, I've had a fabulous experience so far, and I think over the years, even people like yourself who probably initially could not understand or relate to that have over the years just evolved and
Yeah, no,
realize
you're right.
that
You're right. I was one
that
of
global
those
fans,
guys. Yeah, I was one of those
yeah,
guys with the narrow mindset, like you say, and I've had to adapt my opinions.
yeah, because I mean, the global fan thing is absolutely essential for the fan base as a whole, because there's such a bigger picture to it. It's not just about getting fans and getting in it's a whole chain reaction that happens. Because of the global fans, you start getting global sponsors. Because of the global sponsors, you start getting money starts getting pumped into your club. You buy better players. The city gets um, a lot of employment. It's a whole chain reaction. So a lot
Yeah.
of people don't go to actually in depth think what the global fans actually mean. But if you look at clubs like United, Liverpool, and all that, they've grown miles ahead just because of their global fan base. A lot of people won't admit that, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, I want to say a massive, massive thank you to both Kiam out in Canada, old Russian guy, and well, old. Okay, he's not as old as me, but he's an
Hey,
excellent
I can
guy.
still do it on the football pitch, Andy. I've still got the skills.
I can't anymore, sadly. But Akio, I know it's late there, and I want to say a massive thank you. And it was, like I said, once again, it was an absolute pleasure, finally, after we've been conversing for over a year, to meet you and also your dad. Your dad is a wonderful, wonderful human being, a lovely, lovely man. And I was honoured to meet both of you at last in person when you came over.
The honor was ours. The honor was completely ours. Thank you so much for all the help and everything. Really enjoyed it.
You're more than welcome. But listen, this is Andy from Man City Fan TV. This is our podcast, weekly podcast, looking at the game yesterday, which was City won 2-1 against Southampton, which we stuck to our 6 points gap behind Liverpool. We've had Kiam on today. We've got Akio on from Goa, who runs the Goan supporters, Man City supporters club out there. If you are in that region, please, whatever you do, I implore you, contact Akio on social media. Akio, can you just tell everybody your Twitter account, please?
Oh, yeah. My Twitter account is bluewolf_69. So contact me anytime, and I'll be more than happy to host you guys if you're in this side of town.
And I know City fans have been out there, and you guys have been very kind and generous with your time to host City fans who've gone out to Goa. So I'll definitely be coming out. Me and my wife will definitely be coming out. That I promise. Kiam, where can people find you on Twitter, mate?
Yeah, I've got so many Twitter accounts. I've got to try and remember. At Kiam, Kiam MCFC. Also, I look after Man City Fan TV's FIFA videos as well. So if you want to follow on at MCFC FIFA, get in touch with me. If you fancy a game of FIFA, reach out and we can look into that as well.
Well, listen, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This is Andy from Man City Fan TV. Don't forget, subscribe, share it around, tell people to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon, and don't forget, make sure your notifications are in public, not private, and that way you'll be notified when all new videos, podcasts, things like that come on the channel. If you like this podcast and you want to and think, actually, I'd really like to come on and have a chat with Andy and other guys from Man City Fan TV, because we do share things around, then contact us. It's at mcfcfantv@gmail.com. But take care, guys. Thank you so much. This is Andy from Man City Fan TV. We'll see you soon.